Welcome to week 3 of our 6-week Mindful Educators project. 2 weeks into this, you may be wondering how mindfulness, something that started as an Eastern religious practice that some archaeologists date back to as early as 5000 BCE, has turned into one of the most popular, important global well-being trends of the last few decades. There have been several key moments in history of modern mindfulness as a movement. First, in the late 60s and early 70s, with young people traveling to Asia as part of the hippie movement, they were motivated by spiritual practices and drawn to the religious traditions of Asia. It's thanks to them that there is a modern Western mindfulness movement. These young people came back from the East to North America and to Europe, and they began creating communities and teaching mindfulness. People who were a part of these early communities were also doctors and therapists, biologists, and even teachers, and because they saw results from their own mindfulness practices, they began questioning what would happen if we applied mindfulness techniques in the healthcare system in a systematic and non-religious way. Jon Kabat-Zinn's early work in applying mindfulness to healthcare became a jumping-off point for research into this practice in the West. The data from research allowed mindfulness to expand from use in clinical healthcare settings to use in elite sports, in business, education, and general well-being. That brings us to here and now, where technology like ours is allowing these practices of meditation, to be shared on a never-before-seen scale. Mindfulness through technology is relatively new. Mindfulness is something that's nearly always taught and researched face-to-face. So we are now all a part of creating the next generation of research on this new iteration of mindfulness education. I am so glad you're here. Let's begin our practice. Find a relaxed, comfortable position, one that feels alert and relaxed, and let the body settle down into gravity, letting it be supported by the floor or a chair. If it's comfortable, gently close the eyes. If that's not comfortable, try for a soft gaze toward the floor about 3 feet in front of you, in order to settle the awareness and reduce external distractions. Let the hands rest comfortably. Settle in. Relax any areas of tightness or tension where you can, and just breathe for a moment. The breath is used as an object of meditation to encourage calm, steadiness, and understanding. It's a popular focus because the breath is always here with us. You can feel the breath right now. If you decide to pay attention to it, the breath is always accessible. And there's a relationship between breath and mind state. When the breath is calm, the mind is usually calm. And if the mind is agitated, often the breath is agitated too. How is your breath right now? What is your breath showing you about how you feel in this moment? Many meditators use the breath as a focus because The breath changes in obvious ways and subtle ways. It can be felt in different parts of the body, and the breath has movement to it. Can you feel how the breath is right now? How is it moving? How does the breath feel? There's no right way for the breath to be. Deep breaths or shallow breaths, faster or slower, it's just breath. The important thing is to connect with the breath, know how it feels, and learn to rest with it, however it feels. Tune into the breath and try to notice where in the body you notice the breath most strongly. You don't need to do anything to the breath. You don't need to try and force it. Just feel the natural flow of breath in and out. You might feel it most strongly in the belly as it expands and contracts, or in the chest as the chest rises and falls. You might notice the breath as cool air coming into the nostrils and warm air going out of the nostrils. None of these locations is more important or better than the other. You want to pay attention to the breath wherever you are most comfortable. If you notice that you're not quite able to connect to the breath, you can try just placing a hand on the belly and use that rising and falling sensation instead. Connect with the breath in whatever way feels best and rest the attention there. Just gently hanging out with the breath. The mind in time with the movement of the breath without tension. Remember, we don't need to control the breath, just attend to it. Can you feel the sensations of breath, one breath at a time? Notice when one breath ends and the next breath begins. You might notice that the mind has started to wander. You might have started thinking about other things, and if this has happened, it's not a problem. It's normal. Wandering is just what the mind does. Just notice that the mind has wandered. Use the memory of the connection between mind and breath, and just rest the attention on the breath again. Mindful practice doesn't require that we control thoughts or control breathing. We just observe it. Connecting the mind and breath like this helps build the ability to be calm and steady, and builds our ability to keep the mind in one place for a short time. Let's stay here for a few minutes and locate the breath, rest with the breath, and when the mind wanders off, just gently bring attention back to the breath. That's it. That's mindfulness. Resting the mind on the breath wherever it feels most comfortable, and bringing the mind back when it wanders. In just a few moments, we'll close this practice. If you want to continue on for a bit, you can, and if you decide to finish up, take a moment to notice how you feel right now. How does the body feel? How does the mind feel? How do they feel compared to when you started? You might also reflect on anything that stood out in your practice today. Was it easy to connect with the breath? Was it difficult? How did it feel when you did connect with the breath? How did it feel when you realized you had been distracted? When you noticed distraction, how did that feel? Did you feel frustration, or were you able to bring the mind back without judgment? We can take time to review our practice each time we practice in order to learn from our practice. Let's follow one more breath all the way in and all the way out. We are closing our practice. I want to thank you for your practice today and your participation as a mindful educator in our Mindful Educator project. Have a great rest of your day.